In this video, I'm going to show you how to change the saddle. To do that, you only need one tool, a 3mm hex key. You can use either an L-shaped hex key or a hex driver. I tend to use both because you need to loosen the black oxide screws and they're quite tight at the factory, and it's easier to do that with the L-shaped hex key. So first thing we'll do is we'll slide the saddle into the all the way forward position, and then we'll leave the lever loose. Then flip it upside down. It's easy to do this on a table. Get your L-shaped hex key and loosen both screws, but you don't have to undo them all the way. Okay, once you have them loose enough where you know you can just unscrew them easily, you can switch to a hex driver if you have one, or just continue with your L shape. So I'll undo the screws, and then on this side here you see that there's, we call it a double nut. So just unscrew both of these screws until they're clear of the double nut. And then the double nut will just fall off. There's a fair bit of positioning that you're going to be doing while you're removing the saddle, as all the individual pieces fit together in a pretty specific way. It's not, I wouldn't call it complex, but there's definitely an order of doing it. So then once you've gotten the double nut removed and the outer clamp, you'll want to push the two screws in. You can either push them in by hand, by wiggling the saddle, by wiggling the seat post, I should say, back and forth, and they may go forward, or you can actually just continue unscrewing them, even though they're not threaded anymore in there, but the thread will catch on the aluminum, and the screws will just come out a bit further. Once you've gotten that far, saddle comes off quite easily. And you'll notice that I'm holding everything together with my hands rather than letting it all fall apart onto the desk. Now we'll just grab our new saddle, whatever you've chosen. In this case, I'll reinstall the existing saddle, and you'll want to make sure to thread the lever through the rail and then get it around the clamp. And then, if you can see here, I've got it all. I'm going to do that one more time just to show you. Got your saddle here. You've got this all set up like that, and then thread the lever through, and then you get your that'll be right side clamp around the saddle, and then you just let it come down like that. And then now you can go ahead and start screwing these screws in to get the that would be the other clamp positioned properly on the rail. So now we're back to it's almost assembled right now. We just have to put the outer clamp and the double nut on. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll continue to screw it in a bit further. Screws are actually all the way in now. Put the double nut on, and then find the thread. You might want to screw the screw backwards to be able to find the thread when you hear the thread click, you know you can start going forwards, clockwise. And then now, with the saddle still loose, you can position it on the rail in your desired position. So we ship most of the bikes with it all the way back. That's the current protocol right now. And then you'll just tighten it up. The proper torque on this, it will be written in the description of this video. I believe it's 4.5 Newton meters, between 4 and 5 Newton meters. And then now you've got it there, and then you can double check to make sure everything's clamping properly. The only way you can really mess this up is by forgetting to thread this in through the rail in the right spot, and then you'll find that you'll have to disassemble it and start over. The other thing you'll want to do is adjust the saddle angle. That's also relatively easy to do. It's actually very easy. Again, I'll unclamp the rail and move the saddle all the way forward. Find that to be the easiest position to do this. You'll notice at the front of the rail block that there's a cam. It's silver, and what you're going to do to adjust the saddle angle is we'll loosen these two black oxide screws again. I'm not going to loosen them too much, just because you still want to keep the double nut on. You don't have to do any major work right now. And then what you're going to want to do at that point is slide it forwards, and then with your finger you can actually rotate the cam, and then you might actually have to loosen these screws just a wee bit more until loosen them to the point where you can actually slide the saddle on the rails. So you will slide the saddle on the rails. The whole system is loose, so you can actually, with your finger, you can rotate that cam while shaking the saddle, and you should be able to adjust the angle ever so slightly. If you're not able to rotate that with your finger, then that's what the holes are there for. You can insert a smaller L-shaped hex key in there. I think 1.5 millimeter will fit, and then you can use the hex key to turn the cam to be able to adjust the saddle angle. And that's it. Once you have your good angle, then tighten everything up again. And you're good to go.